passage after, David's incident with Bathsheba, and, the child born by Bathsheba after David's, the adultery, the first child died, and the story is after that, okay? So 2 Samuel chapter 12, verse 20 to 25. Then David got up from the ground after he had washed, put on lotions, and changed the clothes. He went into the house of the Lord and worshipped. Then he went to his own house, and at his request, they served him food, and he ate. His servant asked him, "Why are you acting this way? While the child was still alive, you fasted and wept. But now the child is dead, you get up and eat." He answered, "While the child was still alive, I fasted and wept. I thought, who knows, the Lord may be gracious to me and let the child live. But now that he is dead, why should I fast? Can I bring him back again? I will go to him, but he will not return to me." Then David comforted his wife Bathsheba, and he went to her and lay with her. She gave birth to a son, and they named him Solomon. The Lord loved him, and because the Lord loved him, he sent word through Nathan the prophet to name him Jedediah. This is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. We're going to talk about today, the theme is Jedediah. Have you heard this name? Everybody know Saul's, David and Solomon. Solomon, the David's son, one of the greatest king who built the Jerusalem temple. But did you know the Solomon's nickname, like birth name, was Jedediah? God gave that name, and Jedediah means the beloved of the Lord, beloved of Yahweh, Jedediah. So very special name, and God never said like directly somebody like that's the beloved of me. So very special favor and love God showed to Solomon's son Jedediah. So that's what we want to talk about today. Before we go dive into the message today, I want to show you a short video to you, like a 15-second video. It's about my cat. My cat, I have 3 cats, you know that, right? One of the cat, Lana, is a genius cat. He knows how to open the door. So I want to show that video, okay? Can you watch together? Wow, right? I don't know how many cats can do that, but maybe we can just put on the YouTube. But Lana knows how to open the door. And there's 2 kinds of door. One is like a door the unlock it and you push it and it can be open, right? The first door was like, it was an easy one. Just unlock it and push it and it could be open. Second door, actually, other way, he should pull to open the door. So he unlock first and then take the door, open it, pull it. So really smart cat. I'm very proud of my cat, genius. Only problem is we originally intend Lana was an indoor cat, but he now he know how to open the door, just keep going out, right? So Hannah and I talked a lot how we raise the kids. I generally, basically I want everybody do what they like to do. That's my education style. So Lana is a cat. Cat want to go out, enjoy freedom, enjoy wildlife. So I'm telling Hannah, let it go out whenever he wants. And Hannah said, no, it cannot get all dirty, and then outside is danger, stay in the indoor. So she and I talked a lot, but basically I won. So we let the Lana go out once a while. So if I don't want the Lana go out, you know what I do? I just lock the door. So even if Lana opened the handle, door is not open because it's locked, right? So one day when I was watching my cat Lana, I felt this way. If I were Lana, I would be very frustrated because he would have thought, I figured it out how to open the door from the experience. If I handle down and pull it, it's supposed to be open. But he doesn't know. Someday I lock it on top of it, right? So he just do the same thing he used to do, and the door should be open, but it doesn't open. Like, what's going on? It worked the last time. Why is it not working this time? You know what I mean? So if I were Lana, because Lana doesn't have any capacity to understand the mechanism of the locking the door on the top of it, he just thought, I did the handle open, I pulled it. It worked the last time. Why it doesn't working this time? I think if I were Lana, I'll be very frustrated. What do you think? Right? Even cat doesn't have that idea of being frustrated. And while I'm watching him, I felt sorry to Lana, but I thought like, isn't our relationship with God like that? God sometimes listens to our prayer, and like God like do something unlocking, and we just, oh, last time I prayed and God responded me. It worked. This time, why God doesn't respond me? Why prayer doesn't work? What's going on? Like, aren't you confused? God is not consistent. At least it looked like not consistent because our life is not consistent. God's involvement, God, the sometimes respond, sometimes not respond. Really confusing, right? So I want to talk about that confusion today because now David is really going through. David is going through big confusion in today's passage because last week we shared the 2 Samuel chapter 7. Do you remember? I said one of the most important chapters scholars think because it's a chapter that the relationship between David and God and Israel and God, it's transformed. God changed. I was a creator, you're a creature, I'm the Lord, you're a servant, which means if a servant to do wrong, you can be punished, you can be forsaken, but from now on, you are my son, right? Your children, people of Israel, my children, I'm your father, your son. We go into the new relationship, totally different relationship. So God gave this, the promise to David that I'm going to give you a new relationship to you, right? Very important chapter. And I shared with you, though it's one of the most important chapters in the Bible, but it's also a chapter which was greatly misunderstood by many people because a lot of people think God gave that great blessing, making David and David's descendant as God's children because David made a big decision to give God something great. I'm going to build a temple for God. So because of David showed this good intention, I'm going to build a temple for you. God was so happy. God blessed David and then built a new relationship. That's the common understanding. But I shared with you last week, it was not like that because God was not happy when David showed the intention, I'm going to build a temple. I mean, if you see all religion, every religion, whenever believers build a great shrine and make, praise their gods, every religion have a myth and a story their God, how much they're happy. In the dream, they come out, they bless them. But when David had this good intention, here am I. I'm living in this palace of cedar, but Ark of the Lord is still in tent. I'm going to build a temple for God. And God's response to the prophet Nathan at the time, what he shared last week, are you the one to build me house to dwell in? What are you trying to do? You still don't understand who I am? I am the one who builds your house, not you will build my house. The Lord himself will establish a house for you. It is not you who will build the house for me. You totally misunderstand me. That's what he shared last week, right? I mean, David was still thinking in cause and effect, karma world, that if I do good to God, God will reward me. If I do better to God, God will punish me. So from that thought, he tried to do best to show his heart, to show his sincerity to God. God, now you great God, I am great, you great, and then I'll receive blessing. And God says, no. It's not like you have a purpose of your life and I'm supporting you. It's not like that. I have a purpose for you. It's not because of you are good, you do something good to me, I love you. No. Before you do good to me, before you are great, I have already purpose. I am the one who have a goal for you, goal for your life. I'm going to make it. Don't misunderstand that you will do something, I'll respond to you. That was a last week passage, right? And that's 2 Samuel chapter 7. Anyway, after this passage, God gave you the great, the blessing to David. But after 2 Samuel chapter 7, it was a prime time of David's life. David now just become a king after King Saul died, and he conquered Jerusalem. He built the Zion, the city of God, and he conquered all the foreign countries. So like a prime time of his life, chapter 8, 9, 10, it showed of David's victory, his military campaign. He conquered everybody. And on top of his life, in chapter 12, we shared this passage 2 weeks ago, Bathsheba incident. Right, the best time of his life, he fell up greatly on, he committed adultery. He let the righteous man Uriah died, and that's the worst moment of his life, right? And there was a consequence. A baby born by that adultery between David and Bathsheba, first one died. That was a consequence. There should be justice for a blood of Uriah, right? But the second baby come out, and David would still think, dang, I messed up everything, and then now I would have lost God's favor. I was great because of God's blessing, and I try to respond God great way, but I failed him. Right? Bathsheba is something unwashable, unchangeable, like he bear this blame forever. But surprisingly, when second son was born, that the Lord, the scripture said in today's passage, the Lord loved him. Right? There's no passage like that. Lord loved the son, David's son, between David and Bathsheba. And because Lord loved Solomon, he gave this name Jedediah, the beloved of the Lord. I mean, if I were David, what's going on? When I was good, when I did good thing to God, God was not that happy. God was, what are you trying to do? That was God's response. Now, when I did really bad, and the shameful thing I did, God said, I love you more than ever. I'm going to bless your children more than ever. That's what is going on right now. If I were David, like, should I be bad continuously? Because God looks like so happy when I was bad. I mean, David couldn't think that way, right? The big confusion. Maybe like my cat Lana. Why the door is not open this time? You know, Hannah doesn't believe this, but whenever I lock the door for Lana or unlock the door for Lana, I have always principle. I have a principle like, I'm not like randomly open the door, unlock the door. Today it's a rainy day. Maybe if Lana go out, he gonna get dirty too much, so I'm gonna lock the door today. Right? Oh, it's too windy. Maybe Lana will get cold. I'm gonna let her go. But letting go. I mean, if sometimes the Lana was staying at home too long last day, he needed more exercise. I will open the door today. Hey, last night I saw fox around the yard. It's not safe. I will not let him go. I mean, whenever I lock the door for Lana, I have 10 things I consider. Hannah doesn't believe it. She just thinks I'm doing the mistake. But I have a principle when I deal with my cat. And it's not just my cat. I have a principle when I deal with my children. You know, one of the most common struggle between parents and children, especially girls and the father, they ask sometimes, can I do sleepover from friend's house? You went through that, right? And whenever they ask me that, can I have a sleepover? 10 things in my mind I'm consider. Is there a boy there? Okay? Do I know their parents? Is the friends, how many kids there? I mean, how many friends there? When is your final? I mean, 10 things like I'm consider, is it safe? This circumstance is okay? Or there's a trustful person there? Do I have a close relationship with their parents? And no boy there, but even if boy there, this time is a lot of a group, so it's like a safe, and then we have a clear communication with the parents, and then, they study hard, the final is not around. You know what I'm talking about, right? But problem is, sometimes I say yes, because I thought the circumstance was okay, and later I say no, and they don't get it. Why? Last time you said yes. Why this time no? And I'm trying to explain. Last time it was because of this circumstance. I say yes. This time, this circumstance, I say no. But no, I don't. That doesn't make sense. They don't get it. All parents went through that, right? We have this miscommunication. We explain them without principle, but just they don't get it, right? I mean, that's like that miscommunication happened between David and the God, that God has a principle, but David don't get it. Again, the good thing for today's passage, I mean the passage, David, the relationship between God and David. Now after 2 Samuel chapter 7, David and God, and the Israel and God, they went through the parents and children relationship. Right? In the past, it was again the Lord and servant and creator and creature. But now God says, I will be your father. I'll be your children's father. I'll be their father. They'll be my son. When he does wrong, yeah, even if they are my children, I'll punish them. I'll punish him with a lot of man, with the flogging inflicted by man. But my love will never taken away from him. So, parents punish children when they do wrong, but that doesn't mean they stop loving them. Right? So my love will never taken away from him. I took it away from Saul because at that time I now was in the relationship with the parents and children with Saul. So I removed him from me. But your house, your kingdom, now people of Israel, or now the old Christian, my love will endure forever, and your throne will establish forever. So the go to eternal promise to David, 2 Samuel chapter 7, one of the most important chapters we shared it last week, right? So David and the God, and Israel and God, and we are in God, we now go through this relationship between parents and children. And that's the reason Jesus taught us prayer in Lord's Prayer. What's the first line? Heavenly Father. Don't just to pray like a God, God is your father. You are the now relationship and father and children. I mean, the parents and children, right? Let me ask you an interesting question. All parents, you answer me. When parents good, when children good, do parents reward them? Somebody answer to me. When children do something good, do parents reward them? Yes? Yeah, right. Most of the common conversation, like a parent say, hey, if you get straight A this semester, you will get a car, right? You heard about the communication, like conversation a lot of times. Did your children, all the kids who have a car, you got the car that way? No, I promise. If you get all straight A, you get the car. But let me ask this. What if they fail to get straight A? They're like a B, C, they failed, their grade is wrong. Then wouldn't parents give a car to them or not? They will still give. I gave a car to Josephine because Josephine should give a ride to JJ, right? So I gave her, I'm just kidding, but I gave her a car because I thought it will make her life better. She should live fully. We teach her like how to drive, or like as we believe that driving cars make her life more abundant, we gave her a car. And I said, if you get straight A, you will get a car, but even if they don't get straight A, still, we give a car to her, right? Isn't same like you say this thing many times to your children, hey, if you get straight A this semester, you get a new iPhone, right? If you study well like this semester, you get a new laptop. Parents say a lot like that if you do good, we will reward you. But again, if they do wrong, don't parents reward them? They will still have a laptop, even if their school grade is bad. Is this a secret, right? Even if they're not doing good, eventually, the good thing for children, parents will give it to them, either laptop or phone or car, whatever, right? If JJ play basketball, he played really well. Then I'm going back home and, hey, JJ, you played fantastic today. Let's go to 7-Eleven, slush, right? If you play miserably, what I do? Sorry, son, it was a bad day. Let's go 7-Eleven, slush. Just normal day, or just hot. Let's go 7-Eleven, slush. You know what I'm saying? We reward our children when they do good, but actually parents' goodness to children is not based on what children do. If they do good, we will reward them saying you did well. If they do bad, we'll say, I'm sorry you had a better day. Still, we want to treat you well. So actually, by the definition of reward, parents don't reward the children. It's the same like there's no Children's Day in the United States. Why? Because every day is Children's Day. There's no reward for parents give it to their children because reward is based on your achievement. You do something good, you receive it. But parents always give, whether they do good or not. So it's not reward. It is just love, right? And our love, parents' constant love of their children, we always do everything if it is good for you, and that commitment come out all different ways. Sometimes you did it good, okay, you reward it, we give you something good. You did it bad, sorry, we're not gonna give you, but we will anyway give you. Same question. Do parents punish children when they do wrong? Yes, we do. God says I'll punish them. But do parents always punish children when they do wrong, always? No. Sometimes when they do really bad thing, I see they hurt themselves, they hurt other people. It is too bad. If I bring it up, actually it will leave a big scar in their heart. Then I'll just bury it. Okay, it was I punish them with a small mistake, but if it's too big mistake, and if I bring it up, if it's too bad for their life, to leave the trauma or big better thing, I just bury it. No, this time we'll just move on. We don't talk about this thing anymore. You know what I'm talking about, right? Whether parents punish children or reward the children or just normal days, there's one consistent thing. What is that? Always they do their best for the goodness of children. And that best goodness just come out all different way, right? My girls always complain that Daddy, you spoiled the JJ. I know that I was a little harsh to my two older daughters, and when they do wrong, I point it out, I punish them. But even if JJ do wrong, I actually usually don't say anything, and they say, oh, why you raise your son like this? You're spoiling him. And I know why I'm doing that. I explained you already, right? Because raising two girls, I made a mistake. I pointed out too much things that they don't fix at that time. So now I learned the lesson. Even if I point out something, rebuke him for something, he's not gonna fix right now. So I'm gonna be patient. I'm gonna say anything, right? So I telling my daughter, hey, sorry that I rebuked you a lot when you were young, but because of that experience, I learned the lesson. I'm not doing the same thing to JJ, so I'm more generous to him. That's what parents do. That's the reason usually the youngest, spoiled, right? That all parents are saying. But these days, I'm thinking I did too much. I see a lot of really the spoiled child. He asked me, and almost like I said 99% I said yes to him all his life. And when you go to school, when he was young, parents prepare homework and bag, water bottle, shoes, ball, everything we prepare for them when they were young, when they were first grade, second grade. Now it's just 6th grade. And still he get used to that. And they say, Daddy, where's the water bottle? And I now say, you have hands, you have a foot, go get the water. You know how to turn on the water, you know how to fill the water. You walk yourself. Now I'm more like, you know what I'm saying, right? So we have that kind of conversation these days. Sometimes still I do, sometimes I let him do it because I think he needs to be responsible to take care of his own stuff. A couple weeks ago, I was in the car to give him a ride, and he came into the car to go to school, and all of a sudden he said, where's the water bottle? I said, you didn't ask me to prepare the water bottle. No, I did. And he was very angry tone and blaming for, like, where's my water bottle? And, at last, explode. I said, I preached him. I'm a preacher. Like 10 minutes while I'm giving a ride, 10 minutes I said, JJ, if you want to ask somebody, be polite. First of all, your attitude is matters. And when you ask it, it's up to them whether to say yes or no. Even if they say no, if you ask it, it's not your decision, it's their decision. They have a right to say no. You shouldn't still be polite. And then most of all, when you ask somebody, it's not important whether you say or not. It's important they heard you, right? I didn't hear you when you asked me. What are you talking about? Like 10 minutes. I was preaching him like A, B, C, D, whatever, everything he did wrong. And very logically, I point out, and 10 minutes was like, he did it wrong, right? So I was like pouring out teaching for 10 minutes. And on my way to come home, like, what have I done? You know what I mean? I mean, that will not fix children. That will not fix children. We all know that, right? So I thought, dang, I shouldn't have poured my anger. During the last week, another incident happened. He asked me to fill up the water. Now he asked me, so I did that. I filled up the water, and he now said, why the water bottle is wet? I mean, he gonna put the water bottle in the bag, maybe this bag, and then he wanted it dry. And I fill up the water bottle for him, and without any appreciation and gratitude, now he blamed me why the water bottle is wet, right? So another moment of explosion that I'm now ready to give like a lesson. When you ask somebody, when they do to somebody, even if you're not satisfactory, how you should respond. I was ready to give a lesson, 10 minutes again, but we learned, right? So I stopped, and instead of pouring out my anger, I said, sorry, I will try it up next time. So I answered that way, right? So it was like it was my turning point. I didn't respond to what he did. I'm more like, okay, I'll try it up next time. That evening, we were eating dinner, and JJ said, hey, Daddy, where's chopsticks? So I give him chopsticks, just washed it, right? And he said, why chopsticks wet? He said that, but, not angry tone anymore, blameful tone anymore. He was laughing. Daddy, you said this morning you're going to dry it up. Now that you're supposed to dry it up, my chopstick is still wet. Do you know huge difference? He grew up. He really grew up. I think, it's my interpretation might be wrong. I think he felt something when I responded to him. Instead of pouring my anger, I will try it up next time. Maybe it was in his heart. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have blamed Dad like that. So he was looking for the moment of reconciliation, and this chopstick instead now he bring it up. Daddy, you said you're gonna dry up. You're supposed to be dry up. Why you give me the wet chopstick? I think he was reaching out to me for reconciliation. I felt that way. And anyway, his way speak like he was blameful in the morning for the things that he not satisfactory. He now can laugh. He might can smile. He can take care of others. His attitude hasn't changed. I think that's a big change, right? Family life, it's not like parents respond to their children. It is children respond to parents' constant love. It's not like the parents sometimes punish them. Parents sometimes reward them. We do all the different things, but there's one consistency. We do all these things, either punishment or treatment or reward, we do for our children's goodness. When children feel it, then they grow up. They grow up based on parents' constant love. And that was what happening to David. David didn't know what to do. He just thought, oh, this is really, because of his generation, everybody, their understanding of God, it's just cause and effect. If we do too good to God, God reward us, and if we bad, we lose God's favor. And as everybody was thinking in his generation, he was reacting to God that way, and God was, David, that's not the way you and I are supposed to be. I'm your father. Whether you're good or not, I'm the one who built your house, not you building me, right? Even if you do the wrong thing, you messed up so bad, the worst way in life. Oh, my son David hurt too much. I'm going to show my great love. I'm going to emphasize great love. Your son will be Jedediah, right? The beloved of the Lord. And God poured that constant love. Again, that constant love sometimes come as a punishment. Sometimes come as, the reward. All different way it come out from the parents' God, but always the consistency is God's constant love to David. And that changed David. The one of the passages when I read David's life, the moment that I actually really angry, when I read it, 2 Samuel chapter 13, now the tragedy began, right? What happened? You know what happened, right? David's first son Amnon loved his half-sister Tamar, who was the blood sister of Absalom. The Amnon's half-brother. So Amnon asked his father David, "Let my half-sister Tamar come to me to take care of me." So David, as a father, ordered his daughter Tamar, "Hey, go to your brother, your half-brother, to take care of him. He's sick." When Tamar came to Amnon's room, Amnon raped her, and then deserted her very badly. That's what today's scripture. So the Tamar was now put in the shame, raped by her own brother, and Tamar lived in her brother, the now blood brother, Absalom's house, a desolate woman, rest of her life. She lived bearing this shame. And David's response, when King David heard all this, he was furious. Why not? How come his own children, his own son, do the wrong thing, his daughter, the terrible thing, and he used, his brother ordered the Tamar, come to me, my room, and then David do without doubting, what Amnon thought, and then now this bad thing happened. So King David, heard all this. He was furious. And if I was expecting there, hey, call everybody in the palace courtyard, all the punishment that, skin him up, I'm going to rip him up before everybody. I will give him clear lesson. Actually, King David should never done it, right? But scripture says he was furious. And that's it. There's no follow-up. So now Absalom, the Tamar's blood brother, the half-brother of Amnon, he never said a word to Amnon, either good or bad. He hated Amnon because he had disgraced his sister Tamar. Now he had a grudge, and what happened? 2 years later, Absalom killed Amnon. So family tragedy now, this the evil cycle going down far all the way, right? Why? If David responded properly, maybe he punished Amnon severely, then maybe Absalom would never done that way. What was David doing, right? But you can imagine that. You can imagine what was David doing. He never remembered what he did, the Bathsheba incident, and when he saw what Amnon did, he just blamed himself. Maybe he went, the Bible didn't say that, but he went to his room, right? He was beating himself. Damn, what have I done? All the things I done, now it passed down to my children because of my fault, because of my mistake. My evil, now that my son received it, he just followed me, and maybe he thought it was okay because he saw his father did that. It's all my fault. So he started now having time to blame. Now he become vulnerable. When he was younger, David was not like that, right? When he went to the fight against Goliath, he was only a boy, but hey, Goliath, giant, you come with your sword and shield and spear, but I'm going to come with you against with the name of the Lord host. And he went. He showed his valor. He showed his power to kill the enemy. That was David. Now David become very weak and vulnerable and patient. He holding the anger in his heart, and he's not pouring out anymore. He just go through that difficult time bearing the shame and burden because he know he cannot change the things anymore. I mean, the children, with his punishment, the problem will not be fixed. So instead of pouring out his anger to his son, instead of punishing him, he just took the blame by himself. And by doing that, he's becoming like God, right? All the bad things we did to our God, right? How God responded, God sent the flood, God sent the prophet, God sent the destruction, God sent all the bad things, and God found that it didn't work. That God's children, people of God, not get changed. So what did God do? I'll blame myself. I'll die on their place. My son Jesus will die instead of them. So God become vulnerable. God come into human body, and God decided to take the blame, responsibility, instead of children who commit those crimes. And David now becoming like God, following God, and that made him man after God's own heart. Not as a man who showed valor and courage and who conquered enemies, but as a man who take the blame of others, who be responsible, and who somebody who hold all the angers and punishment, all the disaster in his body, and he's going through. And later when Absalom revolted against David, he cried for Absalom. For the son who tried to kill him, he just cried, my son Absalom, my son, it's all my fault. That became David's life. So why don't you take some courage? Because you're not dealing with the God who responds you. What is your problem? I know my problem. I'm always anxious. I mean, when I do good, pray well, be sacrificial, share with other people, and my heart is pure, I'm very proud of God. I'm a good Christian these days, right? But the time that we do wrong is more than time to do good. We always feel, why I'm wasting, God's, the gift, or I'm still selfish, why I'm still, angry, why I'm still pouring anger to other person, why I'm still blaming or looking down on others. Why am I not perfect, right? Those are all bad things, that we go through. And whenever we are disappointed for our own self, we're always anxious. What if we lose God's favor? Maybe God decided to bless me, but now I'm wasting God's blessing. Maybe I might lose it. With that anxiety, we're always anxious. Before God, we should be better, right? Isn't that our religious life? Like David, I want to build your temple, and I don't want to be bad before you, but when I be bad, I'm doomed. That's a David. But God showed constant love. It's not based on what you do. I don't respond to based on what you do. But God does. That's a mystery. That's the reason that my Lana confused all the children complain. When children do good, parents reward. When children do wrong, parents punish. Yes, God does. But when children not do the good, still parents reward. When children not, still do the bad, sometimes parents do not punish them, but show better, with a greater love of them. And because their constant love. And David responded to that constant love that made David grow up. So why don't you trust God who show constant love to you, constant purpose, so your life does not depend on who you are, what you do right now, because if it is, we are always anxious. What if I lose God's favor again? What if I lose a blessing God decided to give me because my life is not good? That's our life. Instead of living that way, I have a Father in every circumstance, in every case, even if I do terribly wrong, I have a Father who walks for my best, always for my goodness. And that recognition, that understand, make children grow. Not parents respond to their children, but children respond to parents' constant love, understanding it. I hope that become our Christian life. Know who your God is, and knowing and having trust and reliance that at last we become a person like a David, man after God's own heart, who responded to God's love. Let's pray.